That's no longer okay.
Right. And I would like to also reiterate that everybody is deserving of that. No matter the mistakes you've made, or if you've been that partner that was maybe bringing things and like holding things back, or you've been the partner that had to respectfully and lovingly let stuff go. Everybody is deserving of that. Everybody deserves to be loved, and you are worthy of love no matter where you're at in your journey. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Little Pricks Podcast.
Welcome.
Hey, my name's Devon.
My name is Fareed.
And I am the tattooed, laid-back atheist.
And I am the moderately conservative, first-generation American
Woo-woo!
Muslim.
And we're going to be covering some kind of difficult topics at times. We cover an array, but we cover them with some introspection and respect, some open-mindedness, and definitely lots of laughter to help make the little pricks in life a little bit easier to navigate.
Enjoying the human experience together.
No doubt.
Improving ourselves by discussing them out loud.
Yep.
Hard, scary, prickish topics. And hopefully you benefit from that as well.
That is the main goal. We want other people to gain the knowledge from our experiences, good, bad, and ugly, to help them in their journey of life, man.
Absolutely.
So we jump right into it. Oh, yeah.
What do we name the topic?
What is it?
The self-sabotage of accepting the faulty love we feel we deserve.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wow, this is going to be a heavy one. We cannot get away from the heavy ones, but I will say that after our launch, I got a lot of feedback, and a lot of people like that, man. Like, it's hard, it's tough, but people like it. It really resonated with a lot of people.
I hope people don't expect heaviness out of us every time, because like there's only so much heavy we can suffer in our lives.
Well, fair, but
to
like,
discuss at one time.
Honestly, I navigate it, and I feel a lot better navigating these topics, not only from the growth that I've made in my life, you know, in recent years, like the past year and a half, 2 years, but now especially knowing that even with the small audience that we have, people are resonating. Like, we have hit home for some people and helped them not feel alone in these deep or these negative or these kind of hard to deal with feelings. And that, for me, I'm good.
That's a massive thing, I'd say.
Oh, it's massive,
and
right?
I was telling you earlier, right, I've noticed that just in our different topics we've been discussing lately, in the past 4 weeks with 4 different people,
yep,
it's come up
yeah,
that I'm going through my own self journey of discovery, and you should see the faces they give me when they're like, wait a minute, you too?
mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
And the question's always the same. What are you going through?
Yep.
What's that like? And I explain, I got to start from the beginning for context, and it's been very helpful to some of these individuals, I hope, because at least that's what they make it seem like, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've gotten that feedback as well. So, my name is Devon.
My name is Fareed.
And you're listening to Little Pricks Podcast. We're about to dive into another episode. So thanks for tuning in. And thanks
welcome
to those people who have already listened. And thanks to the listeners that are new. Welcome. If you haven't, switch on over, watch the intro episode, the second intro episode, because the first one did no justice to give anyone any kind of inclination of who we are or what we're doing with the podcast. You could read it. I put it in the caption, but I also got feedback that nobody's going to read that, which is fair. Most people are probably listening to this on their way to work or at work if you drive for work, or maybe you work from home, or wherever you're listening to it. The gym, wherever. Thanks for listening, but we'll try to be more verbal about who we are instead of putting it in a little box below the video or below the audio. So, with that being said, Fareed, what's our topic today, man?
To reiterate it, our topic today is kind of long-winded in its name, but
sure.
it really is the self-sabotage of accepting the faulty love we feel we deserve.
Say it one more time. Wow, because I feel like that carried some weight.
It's a big name.
It carried
right?
some weight. Yeah, go ahead again.
The self-sabotage of accepting the faulty love we feel we deserve. That one sends you shivers, right?
I'm not going to lie, that one made my chest a little heavy. Yeah, that one made my chest a little heavy. I love that there's rain in the background right now.
Me too.
That's going to really create some...
It's a perfect Saturday, cozy. This is excellent.
This is great.
So I want to start off with a general statement that we attract what we focus on.
Okay.
right?
Oh, absolutely. I've even I've heard, just to give like a little scientific spin briefly here, your brain basically, we're problem solvers. Humans are problem solvers, and your brain has the ability like to seek evidence to confirm what you've told it. So
Absolutely.
I hear what you're saying. That's a good one. It's like if
And
if you're telling yourself that,
if you have a negative self-image,
oh yeah,
right? If
mm-hmm.
if you have a negative spin on your environment,
I've definitely had that before, no doubt.
you will continue to create those things. You will manifest those thoughts. I call it manifestation.
I would
Devon
say
has
it's like
a scientific name for
yeah,
it.
like, well, not a scientific name, but like just basically to reiterate pretty much the same thing you said, right? But like if you have this negative self-image, your brain's going to seek out evidence in your life to prove what you have told it. It's a problem solver.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
this is something that I kind of harp on with people all the time, my
Okay.
family especially, and it like I can never get through to them about it.
Really?
It's something
Like
that.
what do you, like in what regard? What do you mean?
So I tell them the simple thing: if you believe bad things will happen to you, you will confirm that,
Okay, that's fair.
right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And if you believe good things will happen to you, you will confirm that. So either way, you're right.
Oh, wow. Either way, you're right.
Yes.
Wow.
And so no matter how much I've tried to like express that to my family, oftentimes, and God bless them, they're all well-intentioned, good-meaning
sure.
people, right?
No, I believe that. Yeah.
Sometimes you are locked in your own perspective. In therapy, they called it, for me, your own cognitive dissonance.
Ooh. I've seen another one, and for the life of me, I hate that I'm going to blank on it right now, but there is a documentary on Netflix, and it was directed and shot by Jonah Hill. He did just basically a special on his therapist. It was such an interesting take, and his therapist calls it Part X, or that overcasting negative voice in your life that tries to bring you down.
Again, I like to just sum it down to whether you think you can or whether you think you can't.
Right.
Either way, you're right.
Either way, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
Because you basically you create your own world, right?
Right.
And there's plenty of examples in this world of how it works. I think when I was getting my motorcycle license, they gave us a really
You did
solid
get that,
example.
huh?
I did.
Nice,
my
dude.
endorsement.
Sweet.
I'm looking for a bike now.
Good on you. I've never had mine. I've been riding for like 10 years. I've never had it.
Why are you admitting to illegalities
I don't know.
on a podcast?
Because our family.
Guys, I do bank fraud.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that's that serious, right? I don't know. Maybe it is.
It's a privilege, not a right.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
It's pretty legal. Anyways, good golly, the things you admit. I've lost my train of thought there.
Sorry, buddy. So you were saying that I'm gonna cost myself so much editing. Either way, you're
back
right.
in motorcycle classes. Yeah,
Motorcycle classes.
It's a whole mentality, and you can prove it with just a simple lesson they taught us in our classes for motorcycles, right?
Okay.
The bike goes on where you train your eyes, on where you focus.
Okay,
right?
that's cool.
And they would have us do this exercise where we would go around a curve. It's a 180-degree turn.
Right. Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, that makes sense.
And they would tell us, if you look at the ground, you will fall.
That's valid. I can relate to that, especially with like riding mountain bikes, where I have a motorcycle and ride also. So that's very true. Where you look, your body will go. That
and
is
they
a fact.
told us to successfully accomplish a turn, do not look at the turn.
Yep.
Look at the end point of the turn.
Yep. Look through the turn.
Look through the turn where you're coming out of. And I watched it happen.
Yep.
You would have these people nervous about falling,
yeah.
so they'd look at the ground and they would fall.
Yep.
They would crash this bike, and they're embarrassed, and it hurts, and it's not fun. And so I took that advice seriously. I focus, and it takes faith. I will say, when you don't understand,
dude, when you do not know
riding
that bike as well,
it takes faith. I looked at the end of the turn, and my body followed.
Isn't that crazy?
And I would take from that lesson, when you have a positive outlook on things, and when you have a clear image, or you're forming a clear image of what you want, and you focus on that, not what it takes to get there, you focus on the end result.
Yeah.
You will make decisions along the way that get you there, whether you acknowledge it, recognize it, or not.
No, that's totally valid, man. And even still, and just as a reminder, it's not necessarily a goal of getting to where you're constantly thinking good, because this is something you have to constantly work on.
Yes.
This is something that waxes, wanes. It's definitely not like an end goal. It's just a constant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to stay in that frame and that mindset. And I still have to do that in my emotional life, and even in like the physical, like actually riding my mountain bike or my motorcycle. I still get caught looking at the ground, and you know what? Every time I do, I wreck. Every time.
Don't look at the ground.
Every time. And similarly, in the emotional aspect, if you get caught up in that and you get focused on that one negative bad thing, that looking over the edge, like it's going to hold you up for a little while.
The emotional equivalent, right?
Yeah. What's she doing?
Go lay down. Go lay down. Bed.
Little Remy, honey. She's such a good puppo.
She's a great dog.
Freed has 2 dogs, Remington and Winchester, and they're so adorable. And one of these days, we will get them on there.
They need to be in the podcast.
They need to be in the podcast.
The emotional equivalent, I would say, of that is, you're living your life, you stumble on something, right? And you only focus on, man, I'm going nowhere.
Right,
man,
exactly.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not accomplishing anything.
Which is not true.
It's not true.
You got to zoom out a little bit in those times and like give yourself space to like gain some perspective and be like, this is just a hiccup. This is just a spot.
That zooming out will prove one thing to you. You're always moving.
Yep.
It's just, are the decisions you're making moving you forward or moving you back?
Yep.
You're never standing still, no matter how it feels.
Yep.
You can be actively making your life better and easier or making it harder and worse.
Yeah.
But you're never standing still.
That's fair. That's an interesting one, because I think even me personally, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate too, is just feeling stuck. That's the worst feeling ever, dude. I would rather feel bad. I would rather feel like I'm making my life leaps and bounds worse than to feel like I'm stuck.
And I would make the argument that we're never standing still.
Yeah.
We are making it either slightly better,
right,
or slightly worse.
I totally agree.
And they are, I call them micro decisions.
Micro decisions.
Because you're not sitting there going, am I going to Yale or am I dropping out?
Yeah.
It is like, am I going to bed at 9:30 today?
Yeah.
Or am I going to stay up till 10:30 and not wake up as early?
Yeah.
It's a tiny decision you made, micro decision.
Okay.
That can dictate the way you feel the next day entirely.
Yeah.
Right? That extra hour of sleep can dictate how positive you are or how negative of an outlook you have.
Or similarly, like, am I a massive failure, or am I just tired today?
Am I
just human today? Did I make a tiny little mistake that in the grand scheme of things does not define who I am? It does not give me or take away my value. This one small little mistake. Like, I am still a human. I am still beautiful, worthy, lovable, and I am just fine.
And the point being, right, it's your mindset will help you manifest what you think about the most.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
if you sit there and you think, I am successful, I am going to do X, Y, Z, and really you have to kind of focus on something though. You can't just say, I'm great.
Right.
You have to really be like, I'm working towards this.
Yeah. Make some goals.
Make
Give
some
yourself
goals.
some positive affirmation. Absolutely.
The people that are most successful in life have picked something and they work at it relentlessly.
Yeah.
And their mindset becomes, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so they accomplish that. And those people that say, I just can't, never do.
Yeah.
They focus on that, and that's what they manifest. If you want to be a failure, manifest that you cannot. Right, by focusing on it.
I would argue nobody really wants to be a failure. It gets tough, right? Like you get into a place where that is like super hard and you lack that motivation. And I would say I would take a different turn and say, like, in those times that you should hold space for yourself to feel that way and to navigate those emotions.
Fair.
And make your life, just like you said earlier, just that little bit better. It doesn't have to be leaps and bounds. Like, you can literally, like you said, go to bed at 9:30, not 10. I brushed my teeth today, and that's okay. That is enough. And you just start somewhere, right?
Celebrate the little wins.
Celebrate the little wins.
And use those little wins to go challenge yourself for something slightly bigger.
And it's, again, yeah, perfect. And go for something just slightly bigger. Like, I brushed my teeth twice today. It literally can be that small, because that is where I struggled the most, right? Like, I struggled the most, and I felt that stuck feeling, that dreaded, awful, heavy, nauseating, stuck feeling for so long. And my life genuinely didn't change until I said, you know what? I just had to change something.
I watched you change.
I just have to change something. And believe me, getting sober for now almost 6 months didn't happen because I was hard on myself or I told myself I was a piece of shit or a drunk. It started with like, hey, I'm gonna start painting my nails once in a while. I'm going to start doing something for myself. Or I'm going to grow my hair out and take care of my hair and grow out some long hair. Or I'm going to do some other third thing. Just this little tiny thing to show myself some self-love. And then we worked up to big things like getting sober and doing things that really deep down needed worked on. So I just want to encourage people to do, literally anything. It was painting my nails. It started with painting my nails. It started with having a morning routine of like, skin care or, like exfoliation, moisturization, whatever. It can be anything for anyone. But yeah, start out small. You'll get there.
Yeah, so we focus on what we want,
Yep.
and we start to make the decisions that help accomplish that, right?
No doubt.
And so I go really into that mentality is that why do people focus on the bad? And it's my
go ahead.
conclusion to that is it is so much easier to expect negative things to happen.
That's fair.
Because we treat it almost like gravity. We understand it's there. If you drop something, it falls, right?
That's fair.
And just like
and that somehow almost brings us comfort, even though we're like focusing on that negative. It somehow brings you comfort.
It brings us comfort. I'm glad you mentioned that, and it brings us comfort.
Bring that up a little bit somehow. There we go. That's good. Just because it sounds good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It brings us comfort because it feels like we can control something, right? We feel like if I can predict it was going to happen,
right.
I knew it was right. I was spot on.
Right.
I'm awesome at this.
No
you almost feel good because you predicted it, right? You did something right.
Yeah,
even though it was something awful.
Yeah, I would argue that I don't know how good it feels. I remember that mindset, and I don't remember how good it ever felt, but it did give me, like you said, a sense of control.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't predict anything else in my life, and I can't control the outcome of anything else, I can at least control that. And if and that again, I think touches base on back. Like if you tell your brain certain things, your brain's going to make it happen in reality.
It'll confirm it happened. Yeah, and then you'll make decisions that kind of control and reaffirm that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like what does it matter if I wake up early tomorrow? It's just going to suck anyways.
Yep.
Boom, micro decision that confirmed tomorrow is going to suck.
Yeah.
Right? Why do I need to prepare for this presentation I have tomorrow? I'm just going to wing it. Whatever happens, happens. They're already ready to fire me.
Right.
Boom.
No doubt.
You assured that now.
Yeah.
Right? And there's such micro decisions. They start off little and they extrapolate.
Yep.
And they are painful every single time. But why deal with that pain? Because we can predict it. It brings us comfort. We understand that like that's going to be a thing. And so that's where the challenge in focusing on good things is so difficult.
Yeah.
Right? And I would say it requires discipline. Right?
No doubt.
Because if I start to make decisions that are good for me and I still get a bad outcome, well, then I can't win either way. What's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
And that's why I say
you come back to that stuck feeling. God, I hated that.
You do.
Oh,
but
I hated that.
You make enough small, good decisions, you'll eventually see some fruit from it, right?
Yep.
You need to be persistent.
And growth is not linear.
Nope.
It's not.
That's what makes it so hard to keep that positive mentality. But that positive mentality over time is what gets you the results you want.
And you'll build on that, right? So like the way you feel now is not going to be the way you feel after you consistently start doing a skin routine for like literally 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes, or at night, whenever time you want to do it, or painting my nails once every couple weeks, whatever it was, or like when you build,
like you have kidney failure,
right? I remember you talking about that.
Liver failure.
Fareed thinks I don't have them painted now, but my gray nail polish makes me look sickly, and I think that's hilarious. So like, it starts out that way, and then when you find that small success, and like, oh, like. My hair is getting longer. Oh, I've been taking good care of my hair. Like, wow, look at that. Look at this old picture. Like, dang, my hair has grown a lot since then. Or like, wow, I've been like painting my nails and doing this for like kind of a while now. Like, this is kind of nice. This feels good. You won't feel that same way, and you won't feel so discouraged like you feel now. And then you'll be able to build off of that, right?
You know what was something that really started to help me out?
Sure. What's that?
Was treating myself like I was my own best friend.
Wow. No doubt.
If
You're so right, man.
If I would feel bad saying something negative to you, I shouldn't reinforce that for myself.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine going up to you telling me, "Hey man, I have this idea," and me going, "It's stupid. Don't even try."
Yeah. Like you would never do that.
I would never do that
and
to
vice
you.
versa. Like
because that's a terrible thing to do. It's a terrible friend thing to do.
It's hateful, and it spews negativity and
that's
honesty.
That's not saying we shouldn't be honest and be like, hey, there's holes in your idea,
right.
But you shouldn't sit there and just shut somebody down without at least having a discussion, properly analyzing it, and wanting to root for them.
Right.
becoming your own cheerleader is one of the
Yeah.
most amazing things you can do for yourself.
Man, it's so important.
And it starts to shift your mentality.
Yep.
That's actually something I learned when I realized I was being mean to my inner child, right? I was picking on a little kid
Wow.
who was me, right? And I realized I should never do that to myself again.
I have unfortunate news for you, sir.
What?
I'm sure somebody somewhere is going to want us to take a deep dive into that. And similarly, me too. I'm sure, or maybe I don't know. That's a deep one. I would be willing to do that if
I'm
people
fine discussing
were
it.
curious.
I am not afraid of having any discussion.
Yeah.
Because part of all this self-discovery is like acknowledging you're ugly
Yeah.
and acknowledging you're pretty, the good stuff, right?
Yeah, that's important. That's important. We have to be.
But the biggest thing is about how these things, our mentality, affects us on a day-to-day basis.
no doubt.
Identifying
on a
the
day-to-day
problem.
basis, but also like relating back to the topic of like basically accepting the love that we think we deserve, and how does this affect us?
That's exactly
and like
it.
our friendships, romantic relationships. And I'm not gonna lie, this might have to be a multi-part episode potentially, because
Mhm.
I think, yeah, we're running a little short on time. Not too bad, but I think let us know, guys, if you want this to be a multi-part series. I think this definitely, we can touch base on a lot of different things, and we can really, honestly, on all these points we've made, take a really, really deep dive. So if you want that,
Let us know.
comment. And if you're on YouTube, comment. If you're on Spotify, I've made a spot underneath of the episode. And if you scroll down underneath the description, there's a place for you to respond to us on Spotify. And there's also our email, littleprickspod@gmail.com. Send us in your questions. Let us know if you want us to take a deeper dive into this episode.
But for now, back to that topic at hand, right? It's how does this affect us in the sense of the love we accept? So
Yeah,
I find that
no doubt.
for myself, right, when I was lost in chaos, I was accepting
Yeah, that's heavy.
the way people treated me, right? I accepted love that I would not accept that normally, man.
No doubt.
I wouldn't do it now, right?
Right.
I accepted treating people a certain way, and I accepted being treated in a certain way because I felt
I
like
think that's a good one. I think maybe let's touch base a little bit more on that.
Sure.
Accepting the way that you treated other people. And that's a big one, man, because that's one you don't always notice so much. Like, you notice the way you're being treated, sure, but like subconsciously you don't realize how much that affects the way you treat other people because you accept it for yourself.
I brought it up multiple times, right? Like I had a partner, was dating her, did not treat her as well as I should have,
Right.
because that's what I felt was acceptable,
Normal.
for myself.
Acceptable. Right.
Is enough for me, right? I didn't really care if someone asked me really how my day went.
Right.
I
not
hardly cared.
actually. Not.
Right.
Don't really tell me how you felt. Just
Yeah,
go,
like-
it was good.
I was living my life on autopilot for the most part
Wow.
because the chaos in my mind and the self-talk I had was not great.
Well,
And
and it was
theref-
reaffirming the viewpoint that you had about yourself and about your life.
and I blamed her for most of it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like,
But again, that's that subconscious part that you don't always pick up on as much,
mhm.
but it
and
spills over into every aspect of your life.
that's where it really starts to affect the people you choose, right? It affects how you choose people in life.
Yeah.
So that does affect your day-to-day life because I'm not that valuable. I choose to hang around people that aren't that valuable.
Yeah.
And it'll hinder your growth. And actually, one of the statements they make for men in particular, which I'm sure you could use for women, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is
sure.
statistically for men, our success is heavily based on who we pick as a partner.
Ooh, that's an interesting perspective. Sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure
I
the
could
same could be
see
said for women, right?
Oh, yeah,
it goes
sure.
vice versa.
that. Absolutely.
But your success hinges on who you pick as a partner. If you pick a partner that is just not in a great mental headspace, they are now the net that keep you down.
I'm not gonna lie. I have to admit, I feel like I've definitely been that partner before.
Oh, I have been for sure.
I've been that weight, that excess weight on the ship that needs tossed overboard, and not like in a mean way. It's just like, it just is what it is. And vice versa. I've been in some relationships that I had to kind of cut loose.
Absolutely.
Lovingly and gently. I did that, but I've had to cut loose because I'm like, hey man,
You're holding me down.
hold me back. Like I'm trying to go in this direction, and
You're not
I don't
moving
know
with me.
if that involves being in that direction with
Yeah.
you.
No, we've all been in those positions, right? But you have to identify them.
Sure.
Why am
Yeah.
I leaving? Why am I here?
Yeah.
Is this good for me? And so, again, it's the way you think about yourself
Wow.
dictates directly the love you will accept
And give out.
and give out, right?
Yeah.
The standard of love around you, period. I would say
The
giving
standard
and
of
giving.
love.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've come to this place
that's a good
now.
name for this. That's a good name for this episode.
The standard of love we accept.
Or the love standard.
The love standard. That's a good one, actually. Yeah, it's as my mentality has shifted and as I become more disciplined, and I think it all hinges on discipline no matter what you do, I now will only accept a certain level of love in the way I treat people and the way I receive it from people.
No
and
doubt.
I will not deviate.
No doubt.
That's no longer okay.
Right. And I would like to also reiterate that everybody is deserving of that. No matter the mistakes you've made, or if you've been that partner that was maybe bringing things and like holding things back, or you've been the partner that had to respectfully and lovingly let stuff go. Everybody is deserving of that. Everybody deserves to be loved, and you are worthy of love no matter where you're at in your journey. And I think that journey realistically starts within you, and then I think that you will slowly, gradually, and honestly, surprisingly, to the degree, bring that energy to yourself. Like when you start giving yourself that love that you deserve regardless, you'll find that other people gravitate towards you that also give you that love just because you deserve it.
So I would say that the first thing we need to do is identify our problem.
No doubt.
Is identify, am I treating myself with the love and respect I'd want to give somebody else? Would I tell this to my friend? Would I tell this to a small child? Right?
Sure.
Like set yourself a barometer that you can use as a gauge. Hey, this is not acceptable for somebody else. Why would I let myself think these things about me?
It's important. Like that's so simple, right? But like I can tell you that I struggled mostly thus far because I just didn't adopt and utilize that simple thing that you just said. It's so simple, but it's so important. And
It's
so
tremendously
effective.
important because if you're not going to be your own biggest cheerleader, whose job is it to be?
I would argue that it is your job, honestly.
As a child, it's our parents. And if you weren't fortunate enough to have those kinds of cheerleader parents,
yeah, that's fair.
it strictly falls on you, and hopefully someone educates you on that like you need to support yourself. You need to love yourself.
It did take that. It did take other people. And I think, people who have maybe watched that episode about going no contact with some certain family members will know that part about me, that I didn't have that. I needed friends like you, or I needed friends like other people that I've been involved with in my life to be like, hey man, it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to suffer like this. Like you do deserve that love, and you deserve it just because, You
deserve love and you deserve affection to some extent, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess from there we lead on to like, how do we correct this? That's a big deal, right?
Yeah, we definitely want to offer solutions for sure. We've really went heavy here. How do we fix it? How have you fixed it, man? Maybe we'll just start with that. How have you fixed it?
For me, it was really trying to figure out where my pain points were, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I had to take time and start analyzing my own patterns. Man, I keep having people tell me X, Y, Z.
Right.
And I live by the meaning if someone says you have a tail, you ignore it. If 2 people you have a tail, you consider it. If 3 people say you have a tail, look behind you and figure out if there's a tail.
Sure.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's
right.
a good one.
And so when I had enough people, unfortunately, tell me, and I hate that it took enough people, but
well,
it was my journey, right? When I had enough people tell me, hey, you're not being very considerate. Hey, you're not being very thoughtful. And my mind kept saying, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Right? And only to look back in hindsight to be like, wait a minute. No, I'm not. I'm not being very thoughtful. I'm not being very considerate. I'm not being very kind. And I actually reflected that upon how is my behavior doing that? I'm not really thinking about others. Hell, I'm not even thinking about myself and what's good for me.
Wow.
Right? Like before, I couldn't go to bed on time. Something as simple as going to bed on time.
We did an episode on this too, by the way. It's being stubborn, or is this one trait stunting your emotional growth? That's the title of the episode. So if you like what we're talking about right now, go watch that episode.
Yeah, I would say that. So yes, it was one of those things where I realized I wasn't showing up for myself, let alone showing up for anyone else. And again, in simple little things like waking me up before 8 a.m. was a feat.
Wow. Yeah, that's fair. I've been there too. I've been one that can't wake up early. I could do it for a job. I could wake up on time every time. I've never been late to work. Couldn't do it for myself.
I struggle with that either.
Wouldn't do it for myself, I guess I should
struggle
say.
with that even.
Yeah.
It was a thing that I just couldn't do. And I started with that, right? And when I realized I could do that, right?
Yeah.
I started challenging other things and really shifting my mentality. Of course, I had other elements in it as well. I do things that require discipline. There's prayer for me. There's,
Okay.
following for us, it's 5 pillars of Islam, right?
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But it keeps me on the straight and narrow.
No doubt.
Right, which is literally part of our prayer. It's
Okay.
keep me on the straight and narrow.
Keep you on the straight and narrow. Okay.
On the correct path.
That for me just like gives me so much anxiety.
Why?
The straight and narrow, you got to be so strict and on this tiny little path.
So I can see how you'd feel trapped by it, right?
Yeah.
Until I realized that I've been doing everything but the straight and narrow, and I've been miserable.
Sure.
And when I realized that the challenge or the burden of keeping on that path has been a place of contentness.
Oh, okay.
That is so powerful.
Wow.
I'm careful saying the word happy, right? Because I think
Right.
happy is not a state you're always in.
No. Happy's a side effect.
It's a side effect, but you can be content.
Yeah.
And man, have I been content.
Wow. Good for you, man. What matters is that it does that for you. That's what matters.
It does.
Doesn't matter that it brings me anxiety or that I'm not religious. Or anything.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic altogether. But
that's fair.
Realistically, right? It's finding my discipline. It's acknowledging that with that discipline, I can kind of monitor my thoughts and how I talk to myself.
No doubt.
I was watching a Christian sermon recently. It was called Soundtracks. It's from a church up in Phoenix, CCV.
Cool. Nice.
Right, and they were talking about how, which go follow them on socials. CCV, it's awesome. They're non-denominational Christian church, but they have very broad and helpful topics. Obviously, they're Christian, so they will focus on that. But it's advice.
I'll relinquish my input. I'll relinquish.
It's advice that's good for anyone. In fact, I've shoved half of this advice on your throat. You're like, that's a great idea. I just skip the Jesus part, right?
Right.
And their topic recently was called Soundtracks.
That's cool.
And they were saying how, we always have a song in our head, right? It's the soundtrack of our life.
Some people don't have an internal monologue, though.
That's weird.
That's crazy, isn't it?
I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I am the star of my own show.
Right. That's fair.
No, but the point was it's called Soundtracks, right? You get a song stuck in your head kind of a thing. And your inner voice, your inner monologue, or even just the way you see yourself is your soundtrack. And so if your soundtrack is that of sadness and despair and everything is woe is me, that's going to shift you a certain way.
That's
just
pretty parallel to what we're talking about today. Yeah, that's a good one. Soundtracks.
When you're watching a movie
Yeah.
and they play that video of a puppy, if it's a happy song, oh, look at the cute puppy. How great. If it's a sad song, is the puppy about to die?
Yep, that's fair.
And that shifts your mentality, right?
Good way to look at it.
Same image, same puppy. It's just the song playing behind it.
Man, that's a good one.
And
good.
so, I give him a lot
on
of
this
credit.
episode. You are on fire, dude.
Well, thank you, sir.
Wow.
I have to give credit to CCV, though. That soundtrack thing was just incredible.
That's cool.
But it feeds back into this,
right? It can
right?
be that, or like I said, it can be the discipline, if you will, of me, growing my hair out and taking care of my hair, or doing my nails, or doing that skincare routine, and then eventually going to bigger things.
But it started with how you talk to yourself.
Oh, it definitely started with how I talk to myself. Without question, it started with my internal dialogue, internal monologue.
How you interact with yourself is actually a huge predicator for how you interact with others.
No doubt. Yep.
If I'm nice to me, I'm not that bitter. I'm going to be nice to others.
Nice to others, because why not?
I've noticed that people that tend to have that negative self-talk have a negative outward talk.
No doubt. That's so true. I believe that wholeheartedly.
So I guess that brings us really to our conclusion, so to speak, right? Is I think that all of this encompasses who you become as a person and to how you are perceived by others.
Okay.
And how you perceive yourself can be a direct reflection of how you're perceived by others.
Absolutely, yeah. So
if I sit there and I tell myself I want to be perceived as an honest, well-thought person, I'm going to portray that to the world. I'm going to act in line to do so.
Right, no doubt.
However, if you sit there and you say, only bad things happen.
Yeah, only bad things that happen in life. I can never catch a break.
I can't win. I can't win for losing, right?
You can win, and you are going to win, Yes.
But if you have those thoughts, you become that person to other people.
No doubt.
I don't know if I want to hang out with XYZ because they are just They're just down all the time.
Right.
They never support
And you
me.
feel for them, right? Like I've had people like that in my life. Like God, you feel for them and you want them so badly to think and to feel otherwise. But
I just pray for them at that point. Like I have people in my life. I won't go into details about my relation to them to protect them. But like I've had discussions with them where they'll outwardly say, "Yeah, I just prepare for the worst."
and hope for the best.
I'm like, what? No, I just prepare for the worst.
Oh, that was mine for a while. That was my motto for a while. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
No, they don't even go that far. They go, it's going to happen, so why should I prepare otherwise? It's always happened. I'm afraid of people always leave me. I always have to leave people. Or
yeah, wow.
if there's two chances for things to go right or wrong, I'm going to get the wrong one. And I've sat with them and I've discussed, like, why? Because that's what always happens. And I've told them, just change the way you think. They're not ready for it.
Well, and also, like, that blanket statement is hard to, utilize in your life. It's hard because like it sounds so daunting, but as we conclude here, I just want to remind people that it starts so
tiny,
so tiny, so small, and it does not have to be anything huge. You can start literally anywhere and build.
Pat yourself on the back for anything you've done right.
Literally just existing. Pat yourself on the back for existing, because I'll be honest, in this economy, it's a bitch to exist.
I wiped my ass correctly today.
Right. Like anything, literally anything. I went to bed 30 minutes earlier. I brushed my teeth. I started flossing once in a while. Like
some of us don't have someone to build us up. And so it becomes our responsibility to do that for us. And then it becomes our responsibility to do that for someone else.
I think that's in the stage that I'm in now, and it seems like I could never get to that place. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, absolutely can.
You can get there.
You accomplish anything you set your eyes on.
Yeah.
That's how you don't drop the motorcycle.
That's exactly right. Good one. That's how you don't drop the motorcycle.
Don't drop your motorcycle, guys. And I think that's a great place to end it.
No doubt.
Focus on what you want, and you will get there.
And start small, and you can do it. I believe in you.
I believe in you too. Yep. You've got this. And if you need to play back this podcast
over and over,
you can over, even just this small clip. Devon said it as a segment, just a small portion as a chapter. You can do this. I believe in you.
Yep.
We believe in you.
Absolutely.
You can do this. Focus on it. You've got this.
And you're
we
loved,
support you.
and you're
you
worthy,
are loved and you're worthy.
And you are enough. That's a good one. Let's end on that. That was fantastic.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Leave us your comments, concerns, questions. If you have a topic for us, comment down below. Email us.
littleprickspod@gmail.com.
Perfect. We want this to be a conversation, not just with us two, but with you.
Absolutely.
Bring it in. It'll help us.
Bring it in.
Bring it in.
Come on.
Come in for that hug, right? And we want to make sure that we are including you all, because this is a community. And that's, I think, at least for me, a very important thing. I want to have community.
Yeah, I do not ever want it to be just us. I want Little Pricks to be something that just is, like you said, a huge community of people who are not being pricks.
But suffering life's little pricks.
Exactly. Oof. That was a good one.
I'll be here all week, folks. Good night.
See you later. Wow. Bravo, dude. Bravo. We are getting better at this.
We are doing